Good afternoon, everyone. Please come in. Thank you so much. Hopefully the next time we gather, it will be out in this pier behind us. That will look a little different. Welcome. I'm John Judge from the Trustees of Reservations. We're so excited to have you here. We're delighted and thrilled to talk about the progress of the Piers Park 3 behind us, this innovative, resilient, inclusive, equitable space for the city of Boston and for the public beyond. So we're very, very excited about this day. And we couldn't be more thankful to Massport. Massport has been a terrific partner to us in this. Lisa Whalen could not be here today, the CEO of Massport, but Lisa has been a partner who has walked with us shoulder to shoulder from the start of this process. And her experience before becoming CEO in open spaces of Massport really has provided us with an incredible partner in terms of helping us figure out how to develop this in a great way. Mayor Wu is here. Thank you, Mayor Wu, for everything. The mayor and the mayor's administration has been working hard to make sure that Bostonians have equitable access to green space, particularly along the waterfront. We're excited to work with the mayor in this park, but also on the community gardens. We're both excited about that. It's great to have Senator Edwards here. Senator Edwards. Representative Madro, good to see you. Thank you. Welcome. And Councilor Coletta. Welcome. Gigi. I would also like to recognize a partner from the state, Undersecretary Gary Moran. Gary, thank you. Thanks. Eastie is a neighborhood of fierce advocates. We're grateful to the groups like Green Roots, Piers Park Sailing, East Boston Neighborhood Health Center has been a terrific partner, NOAA. They've all written letters of support for us. Thank you to the programming partners, Veronica Robos, Cultural Center, Zoomix, East Boston YMCA, Eastie Farm, La Collaborativa, Friends of the Mary Ellen Welch Greenway, East Boston Social Centers, Boston Harbor Now, our bar waterfront partners, and members of the Coalition for a Resilient and Inclusive Waterfront. Thank you. Thanks also to the Eagle Hill Civic Association, Jeffries Point Neighborhood Association, and Piers PAC. We've worked so closely with this neighborhood over the past few years, and it's been an outstanding collaboration to hear what the neighbors want, listen to the neighborhood, have the neighbors help us design this park. And one of the things we heard was they wanted an active park where you could actually reach the water. You notice a lot of these other parks, you can't walk down to the water. So this park will be different. You'll see some of the designs around us. My grandmother, who landed here about 100 years ago from Europe, thinking about generations that will come to this park and how important it will be for us to make sure that this is a welcoming, inclusive space, a space of fun, a place of resilience, a place of learning. So we're very thrilled. I want to finally thank our congressional leaders for getting us to where we are today. They're all dynamos. Senator Warren, Senator Markey, and Congresswoman Presley, thank you for your hard work. In March, thanks to these three leaders, we received a major push forward when we received $2 million in federal funds to help support the construction. Your tireless efforts to direct critical funding has been a catalyst to this type of transformational change that Boston must embrace if we were to become a more resilient, equitable, and inclusive city. So thank you. Again, I wish Lisa Whalen was here today, but we're very fortunate to have Elena Coppola of Massport to represent the authority. So without further ado, Elena, welcome.
Thank you, John. I just want to welcome everybody to Massport's award-winning Piers Park. We love saying award-winning. So welcome here today. On behalf of Massport CEO Lisa Whalen, Massport is truly proud of the partnership that we have with the trustees to construct Piers Park 3. And not only is that going to be the site of Piers Park 3, but also the future home of Piers Park 2. So once completed, the 3 parks, Piers Park 1, Piers Park 2, and Piers Park 3, will create over almost 15 acres of open space right here in East Boston for this neighborhood to enjoy for years to come. So again, thank you all for being here. Massport is excited, and we are so proud of this partnership, John. Thank you all.
Thank you, Elena. Thank you, Elena. Next up is Senator Elizabeth Warren. Senator Warren has made her life's work fighting for America's middle class. We're delighted to have her here today, joining us in the fight for Boston's future. She's been a great friend, a great supporter, and a lover of the outdoors in every form: parks, hiking trails, resilient landscapes, you name it. So please join me in welcoming Elizabeth Warren.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you. And thank you to the trustees of reservations. It is great to be here with all of you, Senator, Mayor, Councilwoman, Representative, Senator, Councilor. We've got them all here. And it's fabulous. You know, starting nearly 4 centuries ago, we built this great city around our harbor. Over time, the Port of Boston became a global shipping center, transforming our shorelines into working waterfronts. The transformation powered America's economy, and it created important jobs. But this industrialization came with a steep price in the form of pollution and contamination. And this extensive waterfront development cut off access to the harbor and to the oceans for all of the people who lived in the area. Eventually, the harbor became filled with loads of pesticides and PCBs and heavy metals. In the 1990s, federal and state government stepped in to start the long process of cleaning up the harbor. And after several decades and billions of dollars, Boston Harbor has been transformed from one of the dirtiest harbors in the country to one of the cleanest. Yay! And there is still much work to be done, but the harbor is now a safe and beautiful destination for anyone in our Commonwealth. But let's be clear. Accessing the harbor is still challenging for most of Boston's residents, and that is particularly true for the people who live in this East Boston community. For too long, Eastie has shouldered a disproportionate share of pollution and the impact of climate change. This park is an important step toward righting this wrong. This park is a meaningful example of providing environmental justice to a community that has been shortchanged for far too long. I could not ask for better partners on this project than Senator Markey and Congresswoman Presley. Together, we got $2 million. Woohoo! I love saying that. To help design and construct the future Piers Park 3. I also want to say a very special thank you to the trustees and to Massport for your vision and your hard work on this project. This new park will be adjacent, as you say, to the award-winning Piers Park and the future Piers Park Phase 2 project. And together, these 3 parks will provide over 14 acres of beautiful parkland and access. This new park will serve as a model of how to turn industrial dilapidation and pollution into green, climate-resilient recreational space accessible to everyone. I look forward to being here with all of you in a few years when the project is completed and celebrating. In the meantime, let's just get to work. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Warren. Thank you, Senator Warren. Next up, I'm delighted to welcome Senator Ed Markey to the stage. From the beginning, Senator Markey has been at the forefront in one of the most challenging issues that we face as a Commonwealth and as a nation and as the world, climate change. He and I were just remembering a story back in 2004 when we were talking about green hydrogen. So he's been in the leadership of climate change, pushing back against global warming for many, many decades. So thank you. Please welcome Senator Ed Markey.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. And thank you for all of your great work. Thanks to the trustees of reservations for your continued commitment to the conservation and preservation of our beautiful city of Boston. And for more than 130 years, the trustees have been working to protect our natural and historical places for all to enjoy. We thank you so much for all of that work. And to my colleagues, Senator Warren, Congresswoman Presley, we agreed that this project had to be funded. It was one thing we were going to ensure was in the federal budget, because we know that a vision without funding is an hallucination. So the funding had to be here so that we would be able to ensure that this project could be completed. And it's great to be here as well with State Senator Lydia Edwards, State Representative Adrian Martero, with our great Green New Deal Mayor, Michelle Wu. All of this is part of her Green New Deal vision for the city. To Elena Coppola from Massport, thank you for being here. And we've already gone down the litany of saints who are all a part of this effort, all of the organizations who have come together to make this possible. I want to give a very special shout out to City Councilor Gigi Coletta and to Gabriela Ramirez. I'm so grateful for their work as interns in my office. They are part of an effort to green the city of Boston. And thank you so much for all that you have accomplished so far. So we're thrilled to stand here today to celebrate the $2 million in congressionally directed spending for Piers Park 3. It's part of nearly $140 million that we work to bring into the state, but this is a special place. This is a place where immigrants have been coming to the city of Boston, including my grandparents more than 100 years ago, and then on to Malden. And today, new generations of immigrants come here to East Boston. It's part of a plan that we have to make sure that all of our communities can withstand the growing impacts of climate change. Projects like Piers Park 3 create a climate-resilient community park in East Boston, and it's long overdue. Eastie families have long suffered from industrial pollution, poor air, water quality, flooding, traffic congestion, and more. And Black and brown and indigenous and low-income families continue to bear an unfair environmental burden and are under constant threat of the effects of the climate crisis. We cannot combat climate change unless we center the needs of environmental justice communities. And we can't know their needs unless we center their voices. This $2 million in congressionally directed spending allows the trustees of reservations to do just that. This community-led project will transform the abandoned pier into an open, green space for public use. East Boston residents deserve their own green spaces to gather, breathe fresh air, enjoy the waterfront, and take in that beautiful Boston skyline. It's important to fund Yosemite and Yellowstone and the Grand Canyon, but it's also important that we have urban parks for families who live here so that they can enjoy God's great gifts to us, so that they can appreciate nature just as well as those who live near those great national parks. And upon completion, Piers Park 1 and 2 and 3 will be nearly 15 acres right here in the heart of East Boston that will be available to every family, every child, to enjoy all of these great God-given, incredible gifts. And it will be climate resilient as well, because Piers Park 3 will support the community's climate needs. It will be among the first climate resilient parks of this size in the city of Boston. And with the city's climate resiliency goals in mind, this park is designed to help buffer East Boston from storm or tidal flooding and sea level rise. It will help mitigate the heat island effect. This urban park will serve as a resilient waterfront for East Boston for the entirety of the 21st and 22nd centuries. This is an incredible moment. This waterfront has always welcomed immigrants to Boston, a literal safe harbor for those seeking a better life. But this new home is under threat from climate change. And with this project, we will match the resiliency of the residents of East Boston with the resiliency of a climate-smart urban waterfront, which they deserve. Congratulations. Great job for all of you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator Markey. Next, I'm delighted to welcome Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley to the podium. Congresswoman Pressley epitomizes public service. I got to know her back during my Habitat for Humanity days, back in the late 90s and early 2000s in Dorchester and Roxbury. She's an incredible leader, from her time as an at-large city councilor to becoming the first woman of color elected to Congress from Massachusetts. She's always focused on keeping those closest to the pain, closest to the power. So please join me in welcoming Congresswoman Pressley.
I must concede that while I am an advocate of abolishing the Senate filibuster, at these events, I don't want that. I want us to be able to go on as long as we are so compelled. And in all seriousness, you know, very often in the work of lawmaking, you're sort of being a better ancestor than you are a descendant. You don't know, you're sort of paying it forward. It's not often that you get to, in real time, in a palpable and tangible way, see the impact of your advocacy. And that's why this community project funding has been so extraordinary. In the Massachusetts 7th, we were able to deliver some $8 million in community project funding. And what I love about this process is it is the best demonstration of the most ideal collaborations, and that is projects that are community-driven, government-endorsed, and invested in. It is possible to actualize justice in every iteration. It is possible to undo harm. It is possible to have a fully inclusive city. It requires intention. It requires vision. It requires leadership, and it requires investment. And I am so very grateful that I have two senators, two colleagues that I never have to call and lobby for anything, because they are in the right place on every single issue, and they just get to work. Neither actually do I have to lobby anyone up here, any of my colleagues on the municipal or state level, because there is a true alignment of our shared values and of our shared commitment. I do want to quickly also just to acknowledge the sixth man, if I might, and that is the community of East Boston, where it is Eastie Pride every day. That was for you, Sal. If you can hear me back there, that was for you, brother. Love you. John, but again, thank you for your service and the work that you do in service to our community. I'm trying not to have an obscene moment here. I want to thank my friends, Senator Warren and Senator Markey, for, again, their partnership and their leadership advocating for these funds, making today possible. I want to acknowledge my sister in service, Mayor Wu. Thank you for your leadership and commitment to advancing a Green New Deal for Boston and your pursuit of environmental justice for Boston residents. And again, thank you to our partners in City Hall and at the State House and all the advocates for what you do and for your shared efforts on behalf of community. I am so proud to join you all today in celebration of the $2 million in federal funding that we collectively secured as part of the annual funding bill signed by President Biden earlier this year. These funds will assist in the construction of a more inclusive, resilient East Boston waterfront, and once finalized, Piers Park 3 will serve as a beautiful public open space in the Massachusetts 7th that supports diverse community needs and moves us closer to meeting our city's climate resiliency goals. As the climate crisis continues to grow more severe, communities across the 7th are feeling the effects. I think we say that so often that becomes abstract for people. We're talking about shortened life expectancy. We're talking about high asthma rates. We're talking about health disparities, air that is not breathable. It is a public health crisis. It is an existential threat. And it is a quality of life issue. And the burden of these hardships have been disproportionately borne by our most marginalized communities, from Roxbury to Chinatown, from Chelsea to right here in East Boston. Our communities, especially those that are home to low-income folks, immigrants, and communities of color, have been on the front lines, bearing the brunt of the longer and more intense heat waves. And this is one of the reasons why this project is so important. But I also want to speak to just what it feels like to stand here and to take this all in. I just find being in proximity to water to be restorative, to be healing, to stoke the imagination and aspiration. And after a couple of days in Washington, I can say we certainly do need that. But everyone stands to benefit from that. And so Piers Park 3 will be among the first climate-resilient parks of this size in Boston, as Senator Markey said, utilizing abandoned pier space and transforming it into a critical public amenity. It will be strategically designed to help buffer East Boston from flooding events due to storms, tidal flooding, and sea level rise, and the park space will also help mitigate heat island effects. The design for the park will take full advantage of its unique East Boston location, providing the community and park visitors with a stunning experience of the New England coastline and new green infrastructure that will contribute to the protection of this vulnerable waterfront. The Massachusetts 7th and the country simply cannot afford to wait any longer for investments and protections like these that they deserve, demand, and require. Now is the time to advance bold policies and budgets which invest in our communities, undo decades of injustice, and affirm our fundamental right to drink clean water, to breathe clean air, and live in and enjoy clean and safe communities. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here with leaders who are doing the work on behalf of the people. These partners have always guided and informed my work, and they'll continue to. It's just a great day. Congratulations to all.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Speaking of at-large counselors who went on to smash barriers, I'm delighted to be joined today by Michelle Wu, Mayor Michelle Wu, the mayor of our great city. Just last year, Mayor Wu became the first woman of color elected to be mayor of the city of Boston. Her bold leadership is the kind of thinking we need as we work on issues like open space, climate resiliency, inclusion, equitable access, and innovation. So please welcome Boston's Mayor, Michelle Wu.
Wonderful to be here with everyone. The Congresswoman and I were at an event in Hyde Park earlier when the rain just started coming down. I was stuck a little longer, so my entire dress was wet, so I had to change, but now I don't need to hold anything down. I'm much slimmer now. Thank you so much to my colleagues who are up here, from my newest partner in City Hall, Councilor Gigi Coletta. Welcome, congratulations. Thank you. She is not new to these issues or to advocating, particularly here, so thrilled to have you. Our only slightly less new colleague up at the State Senate, Senator Lydia Edwards, our champion. Longtime champion for this community in the State House, Rep. Madara, who, by the way, just yesterday shepherded through his first bill all the way through a big one on mental health, access, equity. Congratulations. Huge deal. Huge deal for all of us. And to our federal delegation, Senator Warren, Senator Markey, Congresswoman Presley, thank you for fighting for our communities every day. Thank you for supporting our coalitions. Thank you for funding our future. This announcement is just the latest in several I've had the chance to just tag along with them on ways that they are planning ahead for all of us, delivering the dollars back to our communities on the types of infrastructure that for too long has been forgotten or not even thought of as infrastructure. Of course, we need funding for our roads and bridges and what we always discuss as in need of building back. But we also need open space, clean air and clean water. We need childcare, support for everyone. We need electric school buses. We need free community college and early college access and tuition. And I've stood with each one of these leaders as they have had success after success in bringing this back for us and for the future ahead of us. Thank you so much to the trustees, John, and your leadership for giving us the vision to direct that advocacy towards and pushing the city in many ways to do better, to move faster. So thank you. We're proud to stand with you. East Boston has a long, proud history of charting the course for Boston's future. Its ports were first to welcome many of the immigrants who came to call our city home, bringing their hopes, dreams, and families to set the foundation for all of us here today. They brought a vision for a better life. Many of those immigrants would go on to become shipbuilders, making some of the fastest vessels in the world in the very ports where they first landed, buoying an industry that drove our city's growth. Today's investment will help build on their legacy. And as our economy has shifted, the dreams, the hopes, the efforts that they left, the sweat and tears they poured into this community, we get to stand on and ensure that we're carrying on for the next generation. With sea levels expected to rise here in Boston and right steps away from where we stand by at least 9 inches in the next decade, we have no time to waste. We must take bold steps to protect our historic waterfront. These funds will help ensure that Piers Park 3 and 2 becomes a next generation recreational green space for the residents of East Boston's environmental justice community. And even more importantly, this is a testament to what's possible when we commit to creating climate resilient, sustainable infrastructure that is beautiful, accessible, and centers our communities. We often talk about climate change in very scary terms. Rightly so, because there's a lot at stake. There's harm that our communities every day are already absorbing, and it falls squarely on the shoulders of Black and brown residents, of communities who have been, for decades, marginalized and subject to environmental hazards. What I know my colleagues up here share is a belief that the Green New Deal is not only about acknowledging those harms and repairing them, but embracing what we're missing out on by not moving faster to tackle the roots of climate change and poverty and injustice. The waters, as they rise, are something we must be cognizant of. But we don't need to only run away from that. We are missing out on the chance if we only build walls and move further and further away. We're missing out on the chance to lean into the incredible treasure and resource and gem that our waterfront is. Boston is lucky to be a coastal city. We are blessed, and this is at the very foundation of how we came to be as a community. Now, in acknowledging that very reality, it means we have to take certain extra steps that more landlocked places might not, but it is also a huge opportunity for jobs, for equity, for joy throughout our communities. And I'm so grateful to our federal delegation, to the partners here today, to all of our community members for moving us one big step closer to making this a reality for everyone. Thank you so much. And before I leave, I wanted to give someone a very special an acknowledgement as well. The reason why we have the cleanest harbor in America is thanks to many here, many organizations, but Vivian Lee played a huge role in that. So we're so happy to have you back in Boston and back here.
Thank you, Mayor. Vivian gave me a quick tour at lunch today and was pointing out the incredible work that's been done over the years, including her leadership that established the Harbor Walk and everything that's been happening here. And it goes to show you what we can do working united. And thanks to the leadership of this group, we're going to continue those efforts and continue the vision that you had, Vivian, of getting more folks connected to the waterfront. So next I want to turn it over to State Senator Edwards. I had the chance to get to know her briefly when I was in Charlestown, but thank you for your tireless work as a community advocate for your entire career. We're delighted to have you here to celebrate this milestone. Senator Lydia Edwards.
Well, I'm beyond excited to be here, and I'm just honored to be in this space. Today, we talked a lot about who came before us, and I think as Congresswoman Presley so eloquently put it, in many cases, we are the ancestors and not always the descendants. But today, especially because we are coming up on Juneteenth, which is on the 19th, and we'll be celebrating it formally as a state for the first time. We should remember our ancestors' ancestors. This port also was a port for slavery. This port was also where some of maybe my ancestors and all of yours also came here, not necessarily looking for hope, looking to survive. And so when we think about the beginning of America and who helped to build it and who came here, absolutely we have to think of East Boston, because I don't know of an immigrant group that hasn't come through East Boston. But also those who were enslaved, who had no choice but to come through East Boston, is part of our history, part of this port. And I hope as we go to decorate, as we go to memorialize, and as we go to think about who should be remembered here and who passed through these moments, we also remember those individuals who were enslaved. That is why it is so important when we go to undo that horrible stain. We think not just of the immigrants who came here with hope, who helped to undo some of it. We don't just think of the Maverick Street mothers and the organizing and the immigrant working class individuals who fought for this green place and this green space that we would not have had but for them. We don't just think and thank Vivian Lee for her leadership. We also have to remember the word equity can't just be in style. It is literally undoing harm. It is undoing harm. And we're doing it with a green lens, and we're doing it with a free lens, because beautiful spaces that are green, that are fresh, that are water touching, oftentimes are not affordable. So the fact that we are making sure our investment today and in many days from now will be something that is for beauty, for something that is free, and for something that is green is necessary to also undo that horrible stain. I'm so proud to be a state senator for East Boston. This community, I am not lucky enough to be born here, but I was certainly adopted here like many, many people who come and came with their own history, their own understanding, and flourished. I am honored. I was honored to be the city councilor, but more importantly, I was honored to be able to meet people where they were and to be in this green space and to understand that this is a healing space for a lot of people who don't have backyards, who don't have access to a lot of things within the urban environment. In many cases, if you ever just come to Piers Park, what you'll see is a lot of families having birthday parties. You'll see a lot of people just laying out in the sun. You'll see 2 or 3 brides walking around with their wedding dresses as they go to take their pictures. You'll probably see me every now and then running through on my route, but what you're going to see is absolute and beautiful community. A lot of quinceañeros, said Veronica Robles, who is also likely here too, playing and singing. Thank you so much, VROC Center. And the fact of the matter is, that means all of us feel that this is our home. We all belong here. We all have a place here. It's our place to celebrate. So this investment is only going to provide more opportunities to celebrate and to remind ourselves where we come from and how far we have to go. So thank you for this opportunity to just celebrate, because God knows there's a lot out there that is hard to see nowadays. There's a lot of violence, separation, anger, rage, and that we are here celebrating a peaceful moment in a peaceful location that is beautiful is something we can all soak in. So thank you. And I just wanted to also shout out Ryan Woods from the Parks Department. He, by far, has been one of the ardent supporters of East Boston's green spaces, whether it's the Greenway, whether it's our planters, and I just wanted to shout him out real quick. But thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. I want to give a quick shout out to a couple members of our team who have been stalwart supporters and leaders and have persevered through the years to really make the trustees what it is today and help this park become what it will be. Nick Black, thank you, Nick, for all your work. I also want to thank, since I'm on the job about 6 months, I want to thank somebody who's been my boss, the new Vice President of Urban Outdoors, Vidya Tikku. Thank you, Vidya. Vidya is pushing us on a number of levels at the trustees to do more, especially on community gardens. So we're really excited to help the mayor in any way in the community gardens vision in Boston, work in Holyoke, work in Fall River and beyond. So thank you. Next, I have the great pleasure of introducing the representative who doesn't need an introduction. I mean, he is full of energy and support for this project from day one, and we're very, very proud to call him a son of Eastie. So without further ado, Representative Adrian Madro. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Welcome to East Boston, everybody. I am so excited to join my colleagues on what is still a beautiful day, the rain is holding out, to celebrate the next step in realizing Piers Park Phase 3. This brings us one step closer to actually realizing the hopes and dreams of many East Boston residents who have been fighting for years for green and open spaces in our community. But to understand where we are today, I want to take us back just a little bit. When I was a toddler in the late 80s, early 90s in East Boston, there was a fierce battle from community activists, including some folks who were here, to make this park a reality. We are an environmental justice community that's been mentioned before. We suffer from some of the highest rates of childhood asthma and adult COPD. Many of our neighbors do not have backyards and open spaces. Our parks are some of the only spots to recreate, to get fresh air, to get sunlight. And that's never been more important than since we're coming out of COVID, right? We have a whole new appreciation for open spaces. But people fought for decades to get this park right here. And now to be at this event, and we're talking about Phase 3, and we have Phase 2 in the pipeline. Those two parks will effectively double the size of this incredible park that we have, in my opinion, the best waterfront park in the country. It really, really is special. And I just want to express immense gratitude to our federal colleagues, Congresswoman Presley, Senator Markey, Senator Warren, of course, my partner in state government at the State House, Senator Edwards, but also our partners at the city, Mayor Wu and Councilor Coletta. We always preach that the work that we do is about partnerships, right? You're only as strong as the partnerships you create. And I think this project is a perfect example of how strong partnerships can make dreams a reality. And here you have layers of government from the city, the state, and the federal government. You have a nonprofit organization like the trustees, all coming together, supported by hundreds, thousands of community activists who have fought for East Boston for generations to realize beautiful investments like this. This is what can happen with strong partnerships. And I look forward to coming all back together in a couple of years when we see what is right now a dilapidated pier. And by the way, that's what this used to look like. This opened in 1995. It was a former condemned industrial pier, much like what Phase 3 will be. So if you're looking out and it's hard for you to envision right now what the next phase of Piers Park will be, just look where we are now. So can't wait to join with you all, opening up Phases 2 and Phases 3 and giving the residents of East Boston green and open spaces that we all deserve. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Representative. Next, it's my pleasure to welcome District 1 City Councilor Gabriella Coletta. She may be new in this role, but she's made resiliency and accessibility to the waterfront a top priority for her constituents, and I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to work with her on this project and others around the waterfront. So please welcome Councilor Coletta. Thank you.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. I am honored to be here amongst my distinguished colleagues in federal, state, and local government. Thank you all for being with us here today to celebrate as well. I want to be sure to thank our congressional delegation, their staff. Always have to shout out the staff as well, too. And the trustees who worked hard to secure these transformative funds. Thank you as well to Massport for your continued partnership and to the many advocacy organizations who are here with us today. The history of Eastie's waterfront and importance of this $2 million investment in creating a resilient, inclusive, and affordable waterfront was already laid out by the eloquent speakers before me. So in this space, I'm going to use my unique lived experience and perspective as a fourth-generation East Bostonian who grew up frequenting this park. Whose family, along with many other families, were beneficiaries of previous investments into the natural environmental treasure that is East Boston's waterfront. Over the last 20+ years, my family has celebrated many birthdays, communions, including my own, quinceañeras, as well as Mother's Day and Father's Day on this lush green space. I have fond memories with my late grandmother. We used to call her Spicy Abuela Pepper, who brought me here as a baby when the park opened in 1995. And one of my most cherished experiences, and one that I'll never forget, is when I brought her here to sit on a bench behind me to catch up and watch the waves right before she passed in 2016. But these personal examples are just a small glimpse into how a beautiful park can positively impact a community and those who reside in close proximity. As Senator Edwards mentioned, it becomes our home. Piers Park 1 and now Park 3 will continue to act as anchor spaces and backdrops for some of life's special moments. This $2 million investment is not only a down payment on what will be built in the public realm, but it's also a down payment on creating lifelong memories for families here in East Boston and across the city in perpetuity. That is the priceless gift I wanted to uplift and celebrate in this space, in addition to the environmental justice and resiliency benefits that will come with Phase 3. So with that, I will just close by uplifting that 2022 is the 200th anniversary of Frederick Law Olmsted's birth, who we all know is the founder of American landscape architecture. And one of my favorite quotes from him is when he said, and I quote, "A park can serve as a great equalizer in a community, a place where people can interact with each other regardless of age, race, socioeconomic status, or ability. It's a place meant to be utilized and enjoyed by all, not just a few." End quote. And I would add in 2022 that a park should be enjoyed as a pocket of peace, no matter what your immigration status is, what language you speak, who you love, or how you identify on the gender continuum. And in our environmental justice community of East Boston, this quote from almost 100 years ago couldn't be more appropriate and a strong guiding principle as we embark on this next phase for this pier. Again, I'm so honored to be here. I look forward to the start of phase 3 and phase 2 and for shared moments on this pier for generations to come. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Coletta. I want to take a couple of minutes to, so many folks have been saying, hey, what can we do? We want to get involved. So we want to get you involved in not only participating in the design charrettes, but also hearing about some of the exciting events that are coming up. Because this is really going to take everyone in the neighborhood, everyone in the city getting behind this project in a big way and making sure that what we have is open to everybody and is the best of the best. On the resiliency side, on the inclusion side, on the program side, we want this to be world class. So with that, I want to turn it over to Teresa Zapata-Walker, who's the Trustees Engagement Manager, and Gabriela Ramirez, who's the Trustees Outreach Coordinator, to share a couple of those opportunities with you. Thanks.
Hello, hola, voy a hablar en español primero. I'm going to speak in Spanish first. Muchas gracias por estar acá. Queremos recordarle a la comunidad que pueden darnos sus ideas, sugerencias de qué es lo que quieren ver en el parque, ya sea el diseño o qué tipo de eventos quieren ver. Por favor, vayan a onewaterfront.org/feedback para que puedan ver cómo se pueden involucrar y no duden en comunicarse con nosotros para poder hablar más sobre el parque. Thank you so much for being here tonight, today. We want to thank you and we want to encourage the community to continue giving us feedback on the design and future programming at the park. There are multiple ways to engage with us. Please go to onewaterfront.org/feedback to see the different ways that you can give us your direct feedback or email us and we can meet up to talk more.
Thank you everyone for being here. So I just want to announce I'm really excited. We're going to have a lot of programming this summer and we're launching our Sabores de Nuestra Cultura Family Festival tomorrow from 1 to 4. We'll have música norteña, we'll have food, we'll have yoga, we'll have Reiki. We're going to have Veronica Robes Cultural Center there doing some performances, so we're really excited. And we're going to have one of many family festivals this summer, so please come out. Gracias por venir esta noche. Yo quería decirte que vengan mañana. Vamos a tener un festival, Sabores de Nuestra Cultura, empieza a las 1 y termina a las 4. Vamos a tener música norteña, comida, vamos a tener Reiki y mucha gente ahí. So, por favor, vengan y gracias por estar aquí hoy. Gracias.
So that's the end of our program today. And as everyone here has said to me, you know, get to work. We're the shovels. So we're almost there on the fundraising front. We want to invest $50 million. So $40 million into the construction, $10 million into an endowment to keep this sustainable, to keep the programs robust through the years. So we're very, very excited about that. We're at about the $30 million mark. And again, thanks to the $2 million in federal funds as the wind at our back, I know we're going to get there. Thank you for all being here. Thanks for your support, your letters of support, coming to community meetings, giving us ideas and feedback. We really appreciate it. This is going to take the whole neighborhood working together, united, to get this done, and we will get it done. So we're honored as the trustees to be doing this project and honored to work with you. Thank you very much. I don't think. We're good, okay?